Alright guys, so this is a companion video to the marker tactical PvP marker pack that I made for Taco the other day. What I'm going to be doing is explaining what all of the different spots I have marked on this map mean and when you might best use them. We're going to go through all of the maps that I've done. Now, just to be clear here, when we go into the settings, and you guys can... One thing I've failed to mention on that previous video is you can turn on and off whatever you really like. So on the marker editor, I guess I'll show you when we get close to one of them. But some of the maps I do not have. I haven't done Spirit Watch. I haven't done Courtyard. I haven't done Hall of the Mists. And I haven't done... Battle for Champions Dawn. So basically all the things that don't appear in ranked. I also haven't done the Rumble Pit in Heart of the Mist, which might be kind of fun to do or vaguely interesting. So there are some things maybe, but this will be the first video. And I guess what we'll do is go in release order of the maps. So that means starting with Khylo. Khylo was an alpha and a beta map. It was the first thing that they ever showed. I still remember very fondly those early streams where the devs were trying to show what competitive play in Guild Wars could be. Right, so yeah, I guess we'll go through. Now, remember the principles. Not everything is marked here. Things that, obviously, I don't know about or haven't got placed in aren't here. But things that are unfeasibly ridiculous aren't here. Either redundant spots and whatnot. So, Kylo's kind of a weird one because it has a lot of stuff that's really kind of obvious once you just understand the very simple principle of the nav mesh and what is no port. So, I haven't marked those in general locations where... they've been done too much. But yeah, so we'll just go through. First of all, this is no port. Specifically, it's this asset of the wall, the broken wall here. If you stand on this, you'll see I can jaunt and it is port. But as soon as I'm on this, it's no valid path. And the entire thing is no valid path. Okay, so this is a good spot for spawn camping, watching for when your opponents are coming out. You can obviously stand up here, but move over. So we've got this. I'll do my best to show you every spot, but I mean, I might miss a couple. This flag, this is a kite spot. I've got it marked as a kite spot because obviously it's no valid path. You don't need the information on the marker pack to teach you that. But the fact that you can actually make it with a jump to get there is prominent. That's like a swiftness jump in combat, basically, you can do. Otherwise, you're going to be wanting to look at a super speed jump or a jump dodge or some kind of leap or something. So, yeah. Speaking of no valid paths as well, like the other, you know, this is a broken wall we're at here. World versus World wall that's been destroyed. You guys might not realize that. It's the exact same asset. So, once again, no valid path to target when we're up on this. You can port to yourself, but, you know, if I'm standing on this, oh, we can go back that way. But yeah, you want to watch for that. This here as well, this little section that's like boxed in is also no valid path. So this is really good because it's also a good line of sight. And I'm marking this as a good line of sight area as well. You can use this to avoid all kinds of range pressure and just sort of kite in circles. Knowing exactly which areas here are also no ports is kind of nice. So I've done that on the marker pack there. Coming over towards the node. Kylo's kind of interesting because they're actually quite flat open nodes. There's really not much you can do here. You can't really climb around on this. I mean, you can kite in little circles like so. Obviously, you can be creative and have your own intuition. I'm not going to mark a simple thing like that. But this is very useful over here when you are at the mansion. You'll often see good players are running through, making sure that they get line of sights with this, double back on themselves. And then also, this is not no valid path. I think if you hang right on the edge in the right way, it can be off the nav mesh. But in general, it's not practical, and I've never really used as a player. But coming up here is of some value. What's really good, though, once you're up here, is to come along this. And this actually isn't that hard. You can come all the way to here. I have it as a kite spot and an orange one, because it can be a little bit tricky. There is, for what it's worth, a jump over there as well. But the risk inherent to this jump... I don't think I've ever had an experience where the person's even made it here. They always slide off. You always have CC or something. You can push them off. They always mess up. But yeah, so you can make that further jump there if you like as well. Aside from that, the rest should be pretty obvious over at this node. I have this marked, which means if you stand right in this corner, you're off the nav mesh. A lot of people go all the way down onto this roof because this is no valid path, right? And this is useful. Don't get me wrong. That's why it's green, and you use it a lot. But nearly every time that a player jumps onto this, it's actually better to stay up there. Especially if you can bait the person who's aggressing you off. You just have better lines of sight yourself onto other people, and it's just a bit better. Now, this building is... Kylo's kind of interesting because of the destructible terrain component. A lot of this won't be here as the games progress because... you know, it blows up. What you should know, though, is the top of this building, this is no valid path. and you can kind of tell as it's raised from everything else. If you're on this bit of the building, oh, that's even no valid too? Well, at a certain point, you can start getting ported onto here. But you're 100% safe when you're on top of this. So, yeah, that's fine. I guess we'll continue going around this side of the map. So this I showed on my introductory video. This is nice for running away from people. You get lots of space. You can come all the way up, and even at the last moment, you can jump back in. You can even climb back around... Hold on, I've messed that up. There's an invisible wall, but you can kind of climb back around there. Now, the thing with this is, I guess I'll repeat myself, this is supposed to be an invisible wall. I'm 99% sure. I don't know when or why the devs broke it and removed it here. I don't even know how that can accidentally happen. But it's been long enough now that this has been open that we'll show it off. Now, if you fall down the other side, you are fully out of Khylo, which I do not condone and do not really want to talk about in these videos. This is the only... there's quite a lot of content to go through, honestly, in these videos. This is the only time you're actually going to see me out of bounds in any of them. I know it's happened right here at the start. Or that we get remotely close to out of bounds, but it's very, very easy to accidentally do. Now, here's the terrible thing. You can't actually get back in bounds easily. So, people will give you the advice to do, like, /stuck, right? Which means you type that, and then you're not allowed to move for 30 seconds, and then it kills you, and then you go on a really long lit respawn. /stuck is actually terrible. The best thing you should always do, if you're ever in a situation like this, is character select and log back in. Your penalty is so much lower. /stuck may as well not exist in Guild Wars 2. Just because it's so terribly implemented. So just go character select and back. However, if that seems punishing to you, I do have Marcus up. There is a way back in. You can't get back in because you can't actually jump, right? And there's invisible walls everywhere else. The easiest way to come back in is climb on this. You're going to come over here. There's all invisible walls over here on the left. So you can't get in here. But if you jump onto the roof again, where I have this marker, and as you, and over here, you make this jump, you'll see we're on some, like, invisible terrain, and you can climb up this invisible terrain. Where this flag is, if you jump at that flag, I'm now on top of the invisible wall, and we could actually walk along it if we wanted, but the point is to come back into the map, and we're okay. And from here, you could even do some weird stuff, but I really don't condone that. The only markers I have out of bounds are just to get people back in, because I think it's a bit cheesy. So, yeah. This is an ultra-useful spot, just because it's yellow. This is pretty easy to learn. Amazingly useful. The only thing you need to be careful of with this one is people who recognize it will stand on this and DPS you. So what you want to do is come through and then come over a little bit. All right. Once you come over, you're good, and you are off the path grid here, the nav mesh. So you're pretty good in this spot. I use this all the time. This one's really, 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 really nice, and very, very rarely do people actually manage to get up. Continuing to spiral around the perimeter of the map, I suppose. You might be curious about getting into this, similar to how we were in that. As far as I know, it's impossible, or impractical in any way. Over here, you actually can no valid path. I've used this like maybe once or twice ever in like 10,000 games. But I have used it before, and you know, it's an okay place because you can actually see quite comfortably as well. The amount of times you get aggressed through here is kind of nasty. This treb, there's nothing really to play with as far as I know. There are ways to break into the bases, but that's beyond the purpose of the map, so I don't have anything marked. Now, what I said at the start of the video, this is obviously off the nav mesh, and so you can actually, like, frogger your way along. You really can, especially if you're on a sword or whatever. You can go quite the distance, but I'm not marking every single one, right? Mostly because they're not even that useful, to be honest. Here you have this building in front of this enemy spawn. Now, this is really good to haze the opponents if you're spawn camping, and the way that most people will play is they will be from this wall and they'll jump like so, okay? And you can come onto the very top one up here, and it's pretty nice. However, you should know the reason I have this amber flag here marked is if you stand on the height of this little bit of hill, you can jump. By the way, this entire series is going to be filmed with Lynx runes, which is 25% movement speed, so it's a little bit easier for me right now. If you're a warrior on Warriors Sprint, it will be very easy for you as well. But bear in mind, this is not default speed. Most of these I wouldn't even try without swiftness and at default speed, let alone in combat and then cripple and chill and stuff, like, unless you're really good at jump dodging. But yeah, so that's a really simple way. A lot of people don't even know. So if you are being spawn camped, it's very, very simple to stealth up, come behind, and if someone's on here, and just kill them, all right? So you can climb up that, and I think that's quite worth knowing. For the other players, I showed this on the introductory thing as well. You have, this is an excellent no port spot, where you got lots of room to move around, and this one's a little bit, this probably shouldn't be a red marker, this should be an amber one. But the precision, the positioning isn't that precise. But yeah, this here as well, there is a marker here. This is all great, no line of sight. Some people will use this and come behind this while they're fighting like so. Maybe they've been pressured off by a soul beast or something. They're going to come here, or just a ranger, I should say, to make this video series a little bit more timeless. And this is useful, but, you know, you can go further with it, and a lot of people don't realize. So you can come right on in the inside. That's why the marker's there. This place is really interesting. Obviously, just no line of line of sight here as well. You can run in circles. However, inside this is good projectile blocking, but also, can you see this wooden platform? Just landing on this wooden platform does take you off the nav mesh, so this is no pot. And if someone aggresses you in melee, you can actually as well, you need a good muscle memory for it, but you can jump up onto this platform here too, and it completely kills your camera, but remember, it will kill theirs too. And if you're comfortable and relaxed with this is actually okay as well. I've used this once or twice. Again, I should play more side nodey duelist builds so I can actually flex my muscles and remember this, because it's been a long time, like a year, since I've really played a lot in that role. You can also, from this position, I really want to show you guys, you can, from this position, port onto the roof. You can also, from around the back, port onto the roof, but it's really fiddly, and I do not have it marked because I do not consider it actually worthwhile. This is a nice spot. It is not no valid path. There is no marker here. You will still be aggressed, right? However, it is a fairly simple jump onto this roof here, but you just saw I messed it up. If you hug the wall too early, there's actually an invisible wall that juts out here. So if you hug the wall a little bit too closely, you can mess it up. I even made it there. And when you get onto this is no valid path. I've killed a ton of SD thieves aggressing it. Now, you can't defend the node while you're at it, but this is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place, depending on your build, obviously. I tend to play builds that make a lot of use of these because, you know, like if you're fresh air early, you can cover the short bow attacks with swelling winds or whatever else with swelling winds. Or like I was playing a lot of GS Mesmer recently, and you can do stuff here. Some builds, this stuff's far less useful. Now, the equivalent of what we saw before with the like ramp, the wooden ramp, is more tricky on this one. It's further away. I don't think you can go under that. No, you can't. It's further away. This is all teleportable, as you'll see. So you're actually pretty vulnerable up here. You don't see people use this much. It's like, and you got to forgive the devs. This was their first map. This is like an RP spot, as far as I'm concerned. However, when you come onto the metal band here, if you come to the side, all of a sudden it is no valid path, which I actually love the design of. It's probably not intended, as many of the original trilogy of maps is not. But I really like it. So it is of use if you come all the way up. And then you can pew-pew anyone you like. Similar as well on the other side. You can utilize this by standing at the edge. And it's no valid path. This is all invisible, so you can't go along that. Now, this is also a good spot because it can jump you onto the circus tent. That's what I call this. And unlike on the other side of the map, this one's actually just the way that the games work out. This one's much trickier to get on, which is why this one's amber and the other one's green, I think I set up. Here was one I was shown by a kind player recently, the tree. I have no muscle memory for this, and I've never really done it, but as far as I can see, everything about the spot seems practical and useful and worthwhile. It might even be a place where taco's kind of nice. Many trees in Guild Wars are like this. They lose their collision higher up. They don't want you fiddling around with the little branches and stuff. I also think it hits the frames and stuff if there's really complicated collision on things. Anyway, yeah, so you can jump on this. And it's tricky, but I reckon when you get onto it, this is pretty good as well. This even, like, obscures you. You can't even see the nameplates very well there. So that's nice. This building here gets destroyed throughout the course of the game, but the archways here do not. And this is a good jump dodge or out of combat thing for you to go for. Similar, this is symmetric. You can do the same thing as I showed before. However, over here, you lose access to this. But instead, up at the actual Treb itself, there's a drop-down spot. If you're in a 1v1 at Treb, you can run over the edge, and nearly every time they will go fully over, okay? And they can't jump back up to you. This is everything you want it to be. And it's really safe. There's lots of position you can move around here. Really good. It's not marked with an airship, only a flag, because it is valid, as you just saw. I teleported off. Can you teleport on? No, you can't teleport on. So there is a distinction of that, and I have no way in the marker back of showing that. But there's a lot of spots when we get to Revenge on the Capricorn, you'll see that a lot. There's a lot of spots you can blink off of, but not onto. And I don't know whether I really need to demonstrate that. It's kind of up to you guys to learn the locations once they've been, you know, elucidated. So here we've got the wall. Wall is no valid path. excellent. All the way along, of course. You could do whatever you like along this. Be creative. This tree is really nice. You can climb onto that. Not much of it has collision, so don't try and get too playful. I missed some. So if we're doing the perimeter, returning back through here before we actually do Clocktower itself in the center of the map, back over here on the opposite side, if you're running along this wall, you do have these trees. Now, this one's really easy to jump onto. Oh, God, I actually landed in the middle. Okay. I don't think I've ever landed in the middle of that. But you've got the trees here. Maybe I should change that flag if that's possible. I can't believe that. Anyway, they're all right. Because if you, like, overjump, if you hit the taller one, you land on this. And it's kind of comfortable. And you can actually jump from this tree over to this one as well. Which I've got marked as amber. That should probably be red because... So the red flags quite often I know about in principle, but may have never executed. But I still see them as feasible. So that one should be red according to my own sensibilities. Anything you can do from the first tree, you can do from the second, right? So it's kind of irrelevant. No valid path here. Eventually this bit of pipe gets destroyed and it becomes very evident why this is all off of nav mesh. So the airship here is very important to demonstrate and show people. And I think that's most of the perimeter done. Hopefully I haven't missed any. Now let's talk about CT. CT obviously changed a lot very recently, within the past 12 months, I think it was. And I actually love new CT. So new CT is, you know, the devs know about this stuff and they utilize it in fun ways. So starting low down, there are jumps you can do here. I haven't felt the need to mark them, particularly not here because you've got the hedge. But on the opposite corner, I'll show you. This is great, no line of sight. Excellent for kiting away from fresh air weavers, longbow rangers, all that kind of stuff. Just really, really, really useful. You'd be surprised. This crate is no valid path, and you might want to remember that and know that. Over here, so these are red flags. Very rarely do I have to do this. Usually I just mark one flag where you're jumping to. But if you're up top, that may not make sense. Basically, you jump like so, right? You jump from the lower bit up here, and this is really useful because it allows you access to Mansion without using the traditional entryway that people will be watching for. And even better, if you're fleeing from someone, it's no valid path going up onto that cliff. You can catch it here, but it's kind of really fiddly with the blinks there, the ports there. So it's a great escape, and it's also a nice little attack there. Sorry, I didn't show that one off earlier. There was also this lamp here as well that I missed. You can get onto the lamp either from the jump I just attempt, or you can go onto these rocks, and on the right of these rocks it's really easy. You can go onto that. You can even go onto this as well, but again, there's no use behind the second one. Alright, so back over to CT. What was I going to show you? So here, look, there's no hedge this time, right? So if you get caught down here, it's actually a better location to make the jump, but the jump is also more simple because this is in the corner. Again, how much the devs decided with this and how much they didn't, I don't know. Anyway, so coming up into Clocktower, first of all, there's this spot. This is... Oh, and I messed it up. I can't believe it. It's a very easy location to go to. It's marked as green. Really good at the start of mids or bailing out of mids. Like, really good. However, you have to be very careful about where you stand with it. You have to be right against the edge and, like, even slightly over. Otherwise, people can just melee cleave you from this. And they often will, alright? So, it's easy to make the jump, the banana jump. But actually getting to a position where you're not then getting hit is tricky. Also, the entire thing is valid on the nav mesh. So people, if I steal to you here, I will still land it and get the damage and get the plasma and whatever, right? So it's deceptive. It's a useful spot, though, that I find myself utilizing a lot. Coming around on the edges a little bit more. I have two flags. These are both drop-down spots, the same thing. You can drop down here. This is ultra useful. I get massive value out of that. Most games I play, the person chasing always goes off the side. Always. Either down this gap here or this gap, and you can stay here. They got no outlet to get back at you, and it's even kind of nice for mitigating the projectiles. And you can choose whether you go on the inside, which is easier, or the outsides. This is much more tricky in the moment. You might not get a sense of that here on this video, but when you're running away, it's really easy to overshoot. But that's nice. The other good thing about this spot that is not on the marker pack, because I've never utilized it, is from here... You can actually jump onto this beam. Only the first beam. You can actually climb. This is totally a thing. Yeah, you can climb back out. And get back up. So, and that, I may have made a mountain of a molehill there, but that's actually not that hard. I just don't really practice it. So, yeah, you got that. I'll explain more of why I love CT here. So symmetrical over here as well. The alternate side has a similar thing where you can jump down here, but the wall this time is broken and is not very useful and has the rubble here. So this side is a little bit more disadvantaged. It's not as safe, but you can still climb up. Oh god, via this here, like so. Now, playing a little bit deeper, this is all no valid path. So this is amazing. You should always be pressuring from here if you have the range capacity to do it. This is such a good spot, and all of it, you know, use your logic, all of it is worthwhile. So this game, this map, is a very small map, so port-heavy classes are really strong in this map. Core Guardians rain hell here, Revs rain hell here, Thieves rain hell. They're really, really, really good. They love... Call a target, you know, they're rotating in from the side, and they're saying, call a target, call a target, call a target, because they want to port through, right? And they can do heavy stuff. So you can just make sure you're on these locations. And they are there in abundance, and they're very clear, and they're easy to get to, but the fact they're no valid path is brilliant. Here as well, you can actually climb quite high, all the way up here, which is all right, and you can jump around on the inside. I'll tell you what, I've marked that, but I don't think I've ever done that. And then up here as well on the other side, it's also very obvious. I spend most of my time on CT in these engagements. Now, this thing here that we're next to actually gets blown up. And so you see that there's more you can kite along when the fight actually begins. So this here might look like tricky and cool and stuff, but this all basically gets destroyed, and it's all rubble anyway that you can play around with. Now, when you have leaps, there's a whole other world of things you can do where... I mean, this video really isn't for it. If the marker pack ever includes it, you can leap from here onto this, and you can get to some really, very easily, some crazy spots. You can jump onto the log there. I personally have always had the dream of I've wanted to establish a portal on the log and then port my backnoding Scourge or something forward, so you got a Scourge up there. I think that'd be hilarious. Never really pulled it off. So yeah, this is a great spot as well. I utilize this all the time. You can come along here if they aggress you, which is pretty easy. Good line of sight. You can drop onto the lamp as well, and they're likely to fall. That one's really nice. It isn't symmetrical though. Over here there is a lamp, but it has no collision. So you see this lamp here. For some reason the devs removed all the collision on this one. Don't know why. I think that's it for Khylo. I'm not sure that I personally know of anything else. Or maybe I do and I just haven't had a chance to talk about it in the video because I've missed it somewhere. I guess there's the statue as well. This is a great place to kite off of. Interestingly, you can port back on if you're in the right position. You're like close enough and it lets you, but you can't port off of it. But bailing out of mids, you can come along this wall. And if you master this jump as well, I'm not saying I have. But if you master that, you can... fairly safely get from one side to the other of the map. So yeah, there you go. That's Khylo. That's the first of the maps. Hope you enjoyed. As always, if you see something here that you think's stupid or I'm missing, there's a really useful thing and you want the community to know about, you want it to be included in the marker pack, go ahead, add it, share me your XML and I'll incorporate it, or just show me in game at some point. So there you go. That's Khylo. I'll be back for the next one. So if we're going in release order, I will probably do Legacy next. I think Legacy was introduced and showed just before Forest. So Legacy will be the next one. And Legacy's got some really obscure stuff, let me tell you. So see you guys there.